Somewhere on a cliff face, 8,000 years ago, a man is climbing straight up a rock wall with no rope. Below him is a long fall onto stone. Above him is a swarm of furious bees, each one capable of stinging him dozens of times before he even reaches the top. He climbs anyway. Smoke rises from a torch clenched in his teeth to calm the hive. His bare hands grip cracks in the rock. And he does all of this, risks his body, risks his life, for something you can buy in a plastic bottle at any gas station on Earth for less than $2. Honey. That climber is real. He's painted on a cave wall in Spain, in a site called Cuevas de la Araña, frozen in red ochre for 8,000 years, reaching toward a wild hive at the top of a cliff. And the fact that someone thought this moment was important enough to paint tells you something you've probably never once considered. Your relationship with sugar did not start in a candy aisle. It started as one of the most dangerous acts a person could perform. You've probably assumed sugar cravings are a modern problem. Too much candy, too many sodas, willpower failing against grocery store shelves stacked with temptation. That's not wrong exactly. But the real story is far stranger, and it reaches back millions of years before the first candy bar, before agriculture, before humans even existed in their current form. Your craving for sugar isn't a flaw, it's a fossil, a leftover survival instinct from a world that no longer exists, still running in your brain like an old program nobody bothered to delete. Let's go back further than you'd expect, not to ancient humans yet, to the trees. A biologist named Robert Dudley has spent years studying something called the drunken monkey hypothesis, and it starts with a simple observation about fruit. Ripe fruit is sugary. Overripe fruit ferments, producing small amounts of alcohol as a byproduct. Dudley's research suggests that your primate ancestors, tens of millions of years ago, evolved a powerful attraction to both the sugar and the faint alcohol smell of fermenting fruit. Because that smell was a reliable signal, it meant calories. Ripe, energy-dense, immediately usable calories in a world where finding enough food to survive was a constant grinding problem. This wasn't a weakness. This was one of the sharpest survival tools evolution ever built. An animal that could detect sugar-rich food from a distance, crave it intensely, and remember exactly where to find it again had a massive advantage over an animal that couldn't. Every generation that craved sugar harder survived better. Over millions of years, that craving got baked directly into the brain's reward system, the same one that lights up today when you eat something sweet. So by the time actual humans show up, walking upright, using tools, the craving is already ancient, already deeply wired, and the most concentrated, most calorie-dense source of sugar in the entire natural world wasn't fruit anymore, it was honey. This is where the cliff painting comes back in, and where the story gets genuinely dangerous. Wild honey is not sitting in a jar waiting for you. It is guarded, violently, by tens of thousands of insects that will attack anyone who disturbs the hive. Getting to it often meant climbing exposed rock faces, using smoke to disorient the bees, and accepting that you would be stung repeatedly, sometimes severely, in the process. And your ancestors did it anyway, not occasionally, habitually. Why would anyone repeatedly risk pain and physical danger for a food source that offers zero protein and zero long-term nutritional complexity? Because in caloric terms, nothing else came close. Honey is almost pure, instantly usable sugar, gram for gram, one of the most energy-dense foods available anywhere in the natural world. For a species burning enormous amounts of energy on a large, expensive brain, that kind of immediate fuel wasn't a luxury. It was survival math. An anthropologist named Alyssa Crittenden has spent years living with and studying the Hadza, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations on Earth, in modern-day Tanzania. What she found should reshape how you think about primitive diets entirely. During peak honey season, some Hadza individuals get up to 15% of their total daily calories from honey alone, not as an occasional treat, as a core, reliable, actively pursued food source, hunted with the same seriousness as meat. 15% of daily calories from pure sugar in a population living about as close to how humans lived for hundreds of thousands of years as any group left on the planet. That number should stop you for a second. The idea that natural human diets were low in sugar simply isn't supported by the people who still live closest to that ancestral lifestyle today. So here's the twist, the part that should genuinely unsettle you a little. Your sugar craving was never a bug in the system. It was one of the most successful survival adaptations your species ever developed, precision-tuned across millions of years to detect and chase down the most efficient fuel source nature had to offer. The problem isn't the craving. The craving worked exactly as designed for nearly the entirety of human history. The problem is what happened to the environment around it. An anthropologist named George Armelagos spent decades examining ancient human teeth, and his research on the transition to agriculture reveals something dramatic. Skeletal remains from populations before large-scale farming show remarkably few cavities. Once agriculture spreads, once starchy, sugar-rich grains become dietary staples available every single day instead of hunted occasionally through danger and effort, the rate of dental decay in the skeletal record climbs sharply. The ancient sugar detection system built for a world of scarcity suddenly found itself operating in a world of surplus, and the mismatch showed up permanently, carved into human teeth. That mismatch never got fixed. It just kept scaling. From occasional honey guarded by bees and cliffs, to grain surpluses, to refined sugar, to a modern world where that same ancient craving, the one that once required scaling a rock face and surviving a swarm to satisfy, can now be triggered by walking 20 feet to a vending machine. Your brain has not updated its threat assessment. As far as your deepest, oldest instincts are concerned, sugar is still rare, still precious, still worth serious effort to obtain. So when it's suddenly available constantly in unlimited quantities, with zero risk and zero effort, that ancient reward system doesn't know how to turn itself down. It just keeps firing, the same way it fired for a climber risking his life on a cliff in Spain 8,000 years ago, except now it's firing for a candy bar that cost you 90 seconds and $2. This is why sugar cravings can feel disproportionate to modern life. They're not disproportionate to the world your brain was actually built for. They're perfectly calibrated to a world of extreme scarcity that simply doesn't exist for most people anymore. Think about that the next time you reach for something sweet without even thinking about it. That impulse isn't random, and it isn't a personal failing. It's a message from deep inside your evolutionary history, a reward circuit built across millions of years to make sure you never passed up rare, valuable fuel when you found it. The circuit is ancient, the abundance around it is brand new, and you're living every single day in the gap between the two. So picture that climber again. Bare hands on a cliff face, smoke in his lungs, bees swarming around his head, risking real injury for a taste that your body still, somehow, considers precious enough to crave first thing in the morning. He climbed toward danger for something you can find in a drawer. The reason you crave it just as strongly as he did, without the cliff, without the bees, without any of the danger that once made it worth it, is far stranger than a sweet tooth. It goes back millions of years to a survival instinct so effective it outlived the very world it was built to survive in.